appreciate everyone being here today for our press conference concerning the University of North Alabama's 2020 football season. First, we'll be hearing from our athletic director, Mark Linder, followed by our head football coach, Chris Willis. After both of them have made their opening remarks, we'll take questions from any of the media that are here. And then we also have linebacker Will Evans and receiver Cortez Hall that are here that can do any one-on-one interviews once the formal part is done. So this time we'll turn over to our athletic director, Mark Linder.
Thanks, Jeff. About this time of year, we're always starting the fall seasons, and we have 5 fall sports here at the University of North Alabama, from football to volleyball to women's soccer to cross country. And being in 2 different athletic conferences makes it a little bit odd for us. The ASUN had voted to move the fall seasons over to the spring, so that leaves us with the Big South in our football program being the only fall sports that will be competing this fall. With the Big South's announcement of allowing us to have 4 football games, non-conference games, we have been meeting continuously with our staff, with our student athletes, and I'm happy to tell you today that we plan on moving forward with playing 4 games this fall. We are excited about that opportunity, and as we move forward, obviously the safety and well-being of our student athletes is our priority, and we believe we have the protocols in place to make sure that we can go forward in a safe manner. We also believe that the folks that we are talking to schedule games can do it in a safe manner, so we are really looking forward to moving ahead with a 4-game schedule. That schedule will begin in October. We told our student athletes that for the month of September we would practice, make sure that they are well conditioned and keeping their safety and well-being in mind. We plan on playing our 4 games in the month of October and November. And so as we move forward, I know the student athletes have a lot of questions as far as what the NCAA is going to do with their eligibility. We have also promised them that will be a concern for us as well, that we will protect their seasons of competition as much as possible. So as we move forward, I can't tell you how proud I am of our university, of our staff, and of our student athletes for, first of all, getting educated, to keeping an open mind, making what I believe is to be a good, sound decision, not only for our football program, but our university and for our community. And so I'm really proud of the people here at the University of North Alabama. It is a challenge putting together a 4-game schedule this late, but as we move forward, I can tell you that we do plan to announce 3 of those today. We will have Jacksonville State here on October 17th. We're looking forward to the Gamecocks coming here. It's a renewal of an old rival and coming back into Brawley Stadium, so very excited about that. We look forward to November 7th. We will be at Southern Mississippi, and we look forward to going and playing there. And then on November 21st, the original date of the BYU contest, we will keep that date. So those are the 3 that we have contracted right now. Getting back to the safety piece and listening to our student athletes, we did promise them that we would not play in the month of September, and we remained true to that. We had some opportunities, however, in making that commitment to our student athletes, it just wasn't right to even talk about a game in September. So we look forward to Coach coming up here, talking about kind of the general schedule as we move forward from today. And I guess will I take questions now or later? All right, we'll take questions later. Chris Willis, head football coach.
All right, thank you, Mark. First off, behind the scenes, a lot of people to make this happen. We get together long days, long nights, hours put in to try to get this off the ground. Mark mentioned our university and how we've worked with those people on those different committees, along with Mark and his staff. Also, a guy in the room in the back that needs a lot of recognition, I think, is Josh Penny, our head trainer, who works with all our athletes. But he's been on a committee across campus as well, and kind of keeps us informed between what the school's doing and what we're able to do here as an athletic department. And just pretty much it's been a 7-day-a-week for him. He don't get no breaks from this. So I want to thank Josh for all the time he's put in, and our administration and everybody behind the scenes. It's not, like Mark said, it hasn't been easy trying to make this happen. Also, in the regards of thanking people, I got 2 players here, but they know how I feel, the players do. I want to thank those guys. I mean, we stopped and halted practice about a week ago on a Saturday, and we got out of meetings, and we kind of got hit a little bit with some quarantine. But the players had a lot of questions that we didn't have answers to, and from eligibility to COVID. And I want to thank those guys. We stopped to listen to these guys, and you know, this is their football team. This is not my football team. And we wanted to hear what they had to say, and they had some concerns. And I felt like, along with Mark at the time, that we needed to kind of halt things and slow things down a little bit before moving forward to try to get some answers. And, you know, along with our AD, the president, the commissioners, everybody's trying to work behind the scenes to put something together on what was best. And I know the Big South decided to move to spring only, but us, along with a couple of teams across the country, we feel like the best thing to do is to get out here and play some football. I know for me and my sanity and my players, we just don't, you know, what are we going to do? Just sit around here and just work out? And so we feel like, as we talked about who to play, when to play, and kind of putting the schedule together with Mark, that we feel like it was the right thing to do. And we're excited about it. I can't wait to get back out here to get actually going again and getting some type of normacy with a practice schedule. I'll say this, kind of moving forward, where this week the players are kind of coming over. It's kind of voluntary, so to speak. The turnout's been great. They're in the weight room. They go to the turf field. That's without a coach. We're not involved with them right now. It's just those guys. Now, next week we start a different plan. The coaches will be more involved. We'll start having position meetings, and we'll start going on the field with some position work. It won't be the actual start of practice, but it will be some type of work on the field. And then hopefully the 31st, September the 1st, August 31st, September 1st, we start football practice, where you see all 100 of us out there like it looked like the beginning of fall camp, I guess, so to speak. Here we go, a second fall camp in 1 year here. But we'll get that kicked off and, you know, practice through the month of September to get these guys ready to go for an October the 3rd game, we hope. And if not, it'll be October the 17th, and the schedule we've put forth. So, you know, talking to Mark, we thought the gaps in between would help us, you know, play a game, take a week off, play a game, so to speak, take a week off. That helps us with the COVID stuff and trying to work through that if we do run into those issues. But overall, I'm pleased as a head coach. I know my players are. I think just sitting down and having open dialogue amongst the players and administration and our staff really was huge moving forward. And I hope we get things kicked off. That's still the plan. I hope college football doesn't back up and stop. I hope we're going to move forward because we're ready to go. Schedule-wise, we mentioned some of the teams: Southern Miss, Jacksonville State, obviously BYU. I was just trying to think of. It's a challenging schedule by all means. But listen, if we're going to do this, let's make it challenging. This is the time to do it. Let's get out there against these type of teams. And, you know, 2 of them I know played in the bowl games, BYU and Southern Miss. I don't know why I'm just all over the place with my teams today. But anyway, listen, I think it's good for our players to get on a big setting, probably all going to be televised games. I think it's just good for us, you know, gives us ready to move into the fall of 2021 is what I'm looking forward to. And I think this will be a big piece of that, okay? But I'm excited, ready to go, and I'm going to turn it back over to Jeff Hodges, so thank you. Oh.
Go ahead and start off. Any questions for Coach Willis?
Coach, obviously, last couple of months, been a lot of waiting around for decisions, whether it's from the conference or from the NCAA. What was that time like for you and you guys? I'm sure it was frustrating for the players, and how good does it feel to have any kind of plan, you know, going forward?
No, listen, it was very frustrating. I know I speak for Mark and his staff and my players. At some point in time, we had to get together and make a plan and make a decision what we thought was best for our university. I'm not speaking for any other schools, just what we think was best for us. And then I think the plan we got in place is what's, you know, moving forward is going to be a great one. You know, it is frustrating dealing with some of the people out there making the decisions. I know you guys know how I feel about some of that. Unfortunately, in some areas we're lacking leadership. I know hard feelings toward presidents and commissioners. They're trying to work together along with our ADs, but at some point moving forward, I hope we learn from this as a, you know, FBS all the way down to Division II, And we try to get these things mapped out and figured out a lot sooner and have a plan in place. And I'm talking about for all of college football. But we weren't going to sit around and wait, and that's what Mark Linder and me discussed. We wanted to move forward with a plan, and we put one in place. And this is what, on top of the players and administration and coaches, this is what we all come about and agreed on. So.
Hey, Chris, from your standpoint, when you decided with Mark and administration to move forward, at what time was that time frame that you all decided, hey, once the Big South made their recommendation saying that you could play 4 non-conference, that you all wanted to move forward?
Well, listen, I'll say this. Mark can answer this as well. I think we were already thinking that way in a lot of ways. We just want to play football. We just wanted a football schedule. We promised these guys we would put something, our players, together that they would enjoy doing and getting challenged, and I think we've done that. You know, when we had that meeting on Saturday, I think it was Saturday, and my days are all running together, guys, so sorry. I think it was on a Saturday when we met with the players. We kind of just started the dialogue then, and we took another day on Sunday, and we came in on Monday, and we kept looking. We kept waiting to see what the Big South was going to do. I believe it was that Tuesday or Wednesday they made the announcement. We already knew what we wanted to do. Now we got to see if we could get that plan in place and make it happen. And it's been a lot of days of trying to make it work, and it finally worked out. So.
Two-part question. How important was it for you and Mark to come together to have practice for the month of September, no games, but then the second part of that is to have a little bit of a kind of basically an open date through
Yeah.
the month of October and November?
Well, it was huge because you got to think about it. It just gotten started. We reported on that Thursday. We had practice that Friday in helmets, and then we kind of got hit with some news within our team, and then that's when we started the meetings, and we kind of stopped. So, you know, using the month of September, it gets us back into playing shape, physically, mentally. We need a month. It's kind of like going back. We pretty much have missed the month of August, so to speak. You know, we're going to start some things up here next week, but no, that was huge. And then I think the gap in between is big for the COVID. If you lose a guy, you know, say the week before with the 10-day turnaround, I think it helps a guy be able to come back and play, and he shouldn't miss a game, we hope. You know, we got to still work out through some logistics there, but Josh and his staff have got it all planned out. I think our model and what we've got in place, I think a lot of people are going to look at it now and go, we could have done that. We should have done this. Or, you know, once again, I don't know each school. Everybody's got a whole, you know, what different way they look at things. But I just know here we're able to do it, and we're going to do our best to get it off the ground and get going.
Coach Willis, being a part of UNA for so many years as an assistant coach and a head coach, talk about the importance of eventually keeping that Jacksonville State game on the schedule, not only for you guys, but really for the region and recruiting.
No, exactly. That was a game that we worked right out of the gate trying to keep, and working between the two schools. I think they were excited about keeping it as well. You know, I think we've got a 4-year deal kind of right now in place with them, a home and home, swapping back. This will be year 2 of it. I think just having them come here playing, I think that's, you know, we want to see that game again here. We've been going over there because we've been Division II playing up on those Saturdays, but now we're both FCS, and I think that's going to be great for our community. And yeah, in recruiting, you know, a lot of people ask me, who do I go up against in the Big South? I really don't. Outside of Kennesaw State, I don't recruit against anybody in the Big South. The teams I see are mainly from the OVC and Jacksonville State. So, no, it's huge. I'm glad that game, that was probably the number 1 game to make sure we locked down.
Coach, when you think about, obviously a lot of negatives with football shutting down, but this seems to be one positive in all of that. And when you think about where you guys are in the transition, holding on to BYU, adding Southern Miss, giving these kids the exposure to push forward, and you never know about eligibility if you might have players back. When you think about that, what comes to mind?
Well, I mean, the goal we're looking at is down the road, okay? I know we've got this year the transition, and we're trying to look to when that year comes, when we're ready to play for a conference championship, and here we go, we're in position. And this, to me, playing this fall and playing these opponents this fall is a step in that direction. Not playing at all, I don't know what that would have done for us. I mean, we can lift weights about any time, any day, but we need to get out and play competition, okay? And we don't know what the spring holds. I have no idea about that. I don't even really care to talk about the spring. I have no idea. We'll see if that ever gets off the ground, but I think it's just important to try to get these games in this fall to stay on some type of schedule so the next fall we're right where we need to be. And I really believe the plan we got in place for eligibility is a good plan. I mean, and we're going to, hopefully this entire football team will be back. This is, you know, 4 games we can get better at over the fall.
You said, you know, if you're going to do this, you want to do a challenging schedule. You want to play the best competition.
Yeah.
what is some of your players' reaction to the schedule that you guys have right now?
Well, no, I haven't talked to all of them about it, because really it's been still kind of being worked out. But the ones I've talked to, I've heard nothing but positive things. I think we've got a lot of guys from Mississippi, so they're excited about the Southern Miss game of going back down that way to play in front of family. Wallace Cowan's a guy, I don't think there's no secret, he's got NFL potential, and he wants to be challenged. He wants to play against these opponents, because he knows the scouts are going to come in and want to look at that film. And so, for the most part, I think the players, if we're going to play 4 games, let's have a fun, eventful, challenging schedule. Let's just don't play just anybody just to be playing. And I think that's what's the beauty of this schedule is we're going to get challenged by all means. So.
Speaking of NFL potential, since not everyone's going to be playing this fall, there'll be more eyes on you guys
Yeah.
per game. How are the players reacting to that? Do you think they're going to even try even harder to play these 4 games
I
to the
would-
best of their ability?
I would hope so. I think that's a pretty neat deal that when you sit back and think about it until you just ask that question. I mean, think about it. I don't know how many teams will be on TV. You know, they're going to have to map out a schedule on Saturdays and you know, I imagine some teams, I don't know everybody's schedule. We're playing some Thursdays maybe. I think it's good for our players to get this exposure. I would think Southern Miss has got some type of TV package. I would think that conference does with ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU or somebody, and Liberty as well. I know Liberty's playing some ACC teams. So I think it's all good for us all around from everything we're trying to do right here in the fall. I think this is from trying to be competitive in the future for the playoffs, for the mindset of us as players and coaches sitting around here and trying to, you know, you got to think of the mental health of this whole thing. I mean, this is affecting a lot of people in a lot of different ways. I feel sorry for the programs that cannot get their games off the ground. But we don't know their reasoning. I'm not going to sit here and judge them on that. There's a reason they're not going to play. That's fine. But we're able to do it here. We've got everything in place from the medical side now to the eligibility side. And why not? Let's play 4 football games.
Coach, you talked, or based off what you talked about earlier, the players, you know, being open and honest about all the situations and everything, does that give you confidence as, you know, more students come back on campus for classes and everything that you can trust these guys to do the right things and go forward?
We've had talks about how to handle that in our leadership group and, you know, how I want to, you know, we're going to hold them accountable, but also want them to hold their own teammates accountable. I'm not always going to mark me, Josh Penny, whoever. I'm not going to be around them at 9 and 10, 11 o'clock at night. I'm not going to see everything. I'm not going to be with them on campus during the day sometimes. So I know my guys are going to do what it's supposed to take to, you know, to get us on that field to make sure that game's going to be played. Now, what they've got to do is teach the student body to go along with that. But I would hope our university, and I know they have, each organization, I hope, is going through kind of what we're going through and talking about how important it is to wear the mask and social distancing and all that. So I feel like as a whole, as a university, we're ready. I think we're ready as a university to get this school year off.
Any questions for Mark?
Yes. Mark, obviously when you're dealing with trying to play football here in the fall during this pandemic, there has to be some protocols and medical protocols in place to keep these athletes safe. Can you walk us through just testing protocol, things that you all will try to do and implement from now, obviously through the fall and even heading into the first half of next year?
Sure, we'll go with weekly testing, and then as we get closer to game time, we could look at some antigen testing right before kickoff. But we will have weekly testing to make sure that our kids are healthy. And if they're not, then obviously they would go into isolation. That isolation has to be a 10-day period, and so our take on it is during that 10-day period with the leadership of Josh Penny, who Chris already spoke about, we are going to have cardiologists ready to make sure that the heart issues are being addressed upon their return so that we could get them safely back into play. And so as we looked at our protocol, some of the partnerships we have locally, it just worked out well for us. And as Chris talks about, you know, not every FCS program can do this, right? But because of our community, because of the partnerships that we have here, we were able to do that. And we owe a lot of gratitude to those local partners.
From an economic standpoint, I know that has to play a monster part in the ability to test the way that you would like to test athletes in the fall and of course in the spring as well. What went into those thoughts of being able to do this and to kind of push the proverbial ball forward to going with the fall?
Right, and so when I talk about partnerships, you know, the corporate partnership piece of it, all these relationships that you build over 13 years, 20 years that now come back and say, you know what, we can help you get there, we can help you do this. Without those partners, I don't know if we'd be able to pull it off. However, we do have those partnerships, and we are, and so that's why we feel so good about the testing protocol, making sure our kids are going to be safe, all right? And then as we schedule these games, obviously our opponents would follow a similar protocol as set by the NCAA, and then we move forward together to make sure that on the field that everybody has been tested, and that we can play the game safely, get back safely, and then get back into our bubble.
I'd like to ask you about, obviously, we announced the 3 games. I guess, do you have any clarity on a 4th game? And if so, like, do you have an expected timeline? Or I guess, do you feel confident that a 4th game will be scheduled before October?
I have tremendous confidence that we'll get to 4 games. I'm not right now in a position to announce the 4th. I would hope by the middle of this week we would be able to announce the 4th game. And we are going to target that October 3rd date.
How important was it for this program, the athletic program, to continue to have, kind of as I mentioned with Chris, open dates in the month of October to kind of give you that cushion per se to be able to deal with if the possibility that you had some cases?
Sure. It's critically important, you know, in talking with our senior leadership team, Coach Willis, our head football coach. This was really a team effort, from the president to the provost to the CFO of the university, all the way to, you know, the student athletes, you know, and the training staff. There was a lot of dialogue to make sure that we could execute a safe 4-game non-conference season, and that's what we've put together. I think, you know, I go back to, we were approached to play in September by some FBS opponents that were willing to throw some rather large money at us, and we just said no, we weren't going to do that. And I think we have a great plan, and I think we're going to, as we stick to the plan, we're going to see some great fruit come from it. I know a question earlier was, how does this position you for the future? I think this plan allows us to close the gap quicker than we would have any other way. When you start looking at the opponents, exposure, you're saving a season of competition for all your current student athletes. It gets them 1 year closer, right, to 2022, which is when we can compete for the Big South Championship, when we can qualify for the NCAA tournament. And so I think this allows us to hone our craft, do it safely, and get us closer to that 22 season without using a season of competition. And so I'm really excited about it, and I'm thrilled that we're able to do it.
What
Yes, sir.
have your conversations been with, like, the city of Florence as far as, like, what the attendance will probably look like at Brawley Stadium?
Right, so we are working on that plan. We believe that we're going to open up to at least 50% capacity in Brawley. It takes our 15,000 seats down to 7,500, but we will require masks. We'll have screening stations on the perimeter for temperature checks, and so, you know, a temperature check will get you a wristband, and your ticket and your face mask will get you in to cheer on the Lions, right? And so we need for that to be a sellout, you know. I say sellout, it's going to be 7,500, but we need them all to be wearing purple masks.
Kind of the same question I asked Coach. I mean, when you think about, you said that you didn't want to protect safety of the students by not playing in September. How important was it for you to have the input of those players? When you look back to that Saturday when practice got canceled and all those conversations that went on, how important was that to you to move forward with this decision?
I think it was a great meeting. I know Will was in there. Cortez, were you there that Saturday? Okay. And so I know Will was there. Cortez would have been there. But as we were having that conversation, and, you know, Will can talk and fill you in, but I thought it was a great dialogue. And the two issues of that meeting, number one was the COVID-related issues, like what do we have in place? What's the protocol? You know, about the same time as when the article came out about the heart condition. And so we were able to talk about that issue, and to also talk about the risk to those individuals who are under the age of 21. or 24 from COVID. And so as you start looking at those risks, they pale in comparison to maybe an older population. And so after we talked through some of those issues, we were also able to talk about the eligibility issue, season of competition. And that seemed to be maybe the number one issue is, hey, Mark, I just don't want to play, all of a sudden I'm in my 6th game, we cancel the season, and now I've burned a season of competition. As a former student athlete, I got that. I don't want to play 6, 7 games, and then all of a sudden the COVID takes over, we don't play anymore, and now I've burned a season of competition. It's one of my 4. And so we went to work right away listening to those concerns and putting a plan together to protect them. So I feel good that the meetings went well, but I'd ask you to ask Will. I thought they went well.
Yeah.
It definitely helped us put a plan together.
Kind of going off Mo's question, of course, limiting the number of fans in the stands, of course, that has an economic impact and everything. Do you think that really will play a role in the future of this program at all?
Restate that question for me.
Just kind of how do you think having fewer fans in the stands is going to impact the future of the Lions program?
Well, it's going to impact ticket sales, right? But I think by showing that you have a stadium, you have a plan, it should bring a lot of confidence to our fan base. It should also at least highlight the importance of being a Sportsman's Club member, right? So if you donate to the program, you're going to get first access, you're going to get the priority parking. So if we're reducing capacity, right, and I'm not a Sportsman's Club member, I might not be able to get into the game. So I think it increases value in some other areas, and I think it's going to be beneficial.
And as an athletic director, I mean, just how excited are you to see some of these student athletes take the field come October?
Yeah, I'm really excited. And I've talked to our staff about this. I've talked to our president about this. I've talked to everybody who will listen about this. I really think, for me, this is philosophical in nature, right? It's a generation that is having to face adversity and make a decision whether they're going to be crippled by fear or if they're going to really look at the information and make decisions that make sense. And every generation has to go through that. And so for us to have the opportunity to be in leadership roles, to help young men and to kind of help them through this process, I think is a great calling. And so I'm excited to see them, and I'm going to be very proud of them.
Any other questions? Thank you. That'll conclude the formal part of our press conference. And as we mentioned, we have linebacker Will Evans and receiver Cortez Hall that can come up, and we can get one-on-one interviews or group interviews with them. Thank you.
Jeff, can we have them come up just that way, one by one?
Will, you wanna come up first?